Today's episode is brought to you by the Vegas Beer Guys.
Everything sequel contains explicit language. And why the fudge not, you melon farmer?
Hello and welcome to the Everything Sequel Podcast. This is the 1997 Singles Edition. Today, we're pitching sequels, friends. Wish us Godspeed. Michael Shantz here of the How Dare You Awards. Joining me, the man with his pen on the paper, Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions. Say hello, Tom.
Mr. Ed is mine. Which movie's that from?
I don't know.
I knew you wouldn't.
What is that from?
That's from Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Which part?
When Jax takes on the pro wrestler Centaur.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
Mr. Ed is mad.
Mr. Ed is mad.
I also like how you began today's episode like it was a eulogy at a funeral. Today, we're gathered here to pick sequels to the 1997 single sequel.
Well, because this is uniquely difficult, because it's like, which of these series do you want to see more of?
Yeah.
When you think, I guess I could almost understand Mortal Kombat more than any other, but the others, it was like, the first movie, just leave it alone after that. Stop. You shouldn't have done,
Yeah.
a movie after that.
There's precedent for, because, Mortal Kombat as a video game has a number of iterations.
Yeah. I mean, we just had I guess I'll say a reboot of that.
Are you sure that's not a sequel?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. No one has referred to it that way.
But for everybody to be as excited as they were, I thought it was funny that it was still a more polished turd.
Yeah. That's interesting, though, that Mortal Kombat has, at the very least, come back, because
Yeah.
The other two series have been a dead in the water.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, literally.
Yeah, they were killed.
Yeah.
So, as always, I mean, the interesting thing about doing the single sequels is first you have to pick the series you want to pitch a sequel to.
Yeah.
And then you got to devise your pitch. So,
Yes.
what was your experience just trying to decide which movie to do?
That came pretty easily.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I
Like you made a choice and stuck with it and you went on your path.
I made a choice and stuck with it, that's for sure.
Okay.
I a full disclosure, I have something for all of these films, but only one complete cinematic pitch.
How did I know?
Why?
Because that's what you've been doing lately.
I suppose
On
so.
single
Yeah.
sequels,
Well,
know,
it seems
I've got a
unfair- it
cast,
seems
I've got
like-
an idea, I've got this, and then I've got
Yeah.
a full pitch.
Right. And it seems unfair to exclude any of these films.
Well, for myself, I thought I had the movie I wanted to do, and I could share with you I guess what I'll call an outline.
Yeah.
Because I went pretty far down the path when I finally decided, I don't like this idea, I don't like this movie, I don't like anything to do with what I'm thinking, and then a movie I completely disregarded as even an option became my option.
Yeah.
And then I went down a completely different path. So I had myself a bit of a journey.
Yeah, like you, with me, it was nothing to do with the desire to prolong the series. It was all about, I could make this sequel to this film.
Mm-hmm. And by this film, you mean the last sequel?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I could.
Or the
I could
original
take this-
film?
I could take the story. No, I was like, I could take the story here.
Okay. That's what happened to me, too. I thought,
Yeah. And that's not to say I want to see this film.
no,
at
yeah,
all.
me either.
Happy to, and you know, these films are on the surface all failures. They, at least a couple of them, are sequels that you don't necessarily want to see.
Mm-hmm.
But in watching the films themselves, I get the sense of, oh, you could actually do it. It's just not this.
Right, right.
Like, the films, I think you know, Die Hard managed to make sequels, so why can't you have a Speed sequel?
Right.
American Werewolf in London is obviously like a sacred movie, so it seems like blasphemy to suggest a sequel to it. But oh, you know what? Here's how you could probably do it.
Right.
So that makes these films even more frustrating.
Yeah,
than
exactly
they
right.
are, because I do think their projects are possible, but they have singularly failed to achieve.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, was it difficult for you to write your pitch in total?
It wasn't, because I think just because I sort of ran with an idea that I knew I could link to the previous two movies without it really having anything to do with the previous two movies. So I found my angle,
Yeah, I found my angle too.
my way in, and I did my own thing.
Okay.
Because there's no bar here,
Well, now you want to go with...
no precedent.
Right. Do you want to go with the minor pitches first?
Sure. Well, one of them is not a pitch. It's a piece of news.
Oh.
Did you know that Speed 3 exists?
No.
Yes, well, it does. 'Tis an
In idea or...
No, in reality.
What?
It is an episode of a British sitcom from the 1990s. 1998, so only 1 year after Speed 2 Cruise Control. The series is called Father Ted. It's a sitcom about two priests from a remote parish off the coast of Ireland.
All right.
And there's an episode called Speed 3, in which a local milkman is fired for having sex with all the housewives on his route. And Father Ted exposes him. Father Dougal,
As any good priest would.
as any good priest would, because he finds out that a lot of the children in town,
Or his.
there's a lot there's a lot of hairy babies being born, I believe, are his actual words. So he's fired, and Father Dougal, who's the other priest, takes over the milk route, except to get revenge on the people who lost him his job, the milkman, Pat Mustard, puts a bomb on the milk float. And if it goes over 5 miles an hour, the bomb activates, so it can't go over the 5.
What do you do on the
it can't go
hills,
under 5
Tom? What
miles
do you
an
do
hour.
on the hills?
Right, exactly. So the rest of the episode is Father Ted trying to solve that problem. So there is already a Speed 3, and for those of you who know Father Ted, you'll know there's no way to do better than that. There's no conceivable pitch that could improve upon that I could do.
Well, that's
So,
the one that I went down the line a long time on.
yeah. Well, why don't you since we're talking about it, why don't you tell me your thumbnail?
So my
sketch?
thumbnail sketch was, to be honest, I'm not sure I even had, gotten to a title I liked. I think the working title was Speed 3 Autopilot.
I think you may be giving the critics a little bit too much fuel for the fire there.
Right. So my idea was to not take the movie seriously at all,
Yeah.
but to have
Well,
like Sandra Bullock.
Father Ted's right there with
Yeah.
you.
So to have Sandra Bullock and Jason Patric on an airplane,
Mm-hmm.
taken over by a terrorist, and
Okay.
then executive decision style have, for what reason we don't know, but the Suicide Squad from Los Angeles,
Yeah.
board the plane executive decision style, and it would be with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
And then you have this dynamic of ex-boyfriend, current boyfriend, who do I really love, plus we got to beat the terrorists.
That's the way to do
Yeah.
it, I think. I think you'd want the return of Keanu Reeves as Jack.
But then I
That's
also,
not half-
I couldn't decide,
That's not half bad.
like, is it the plane has to stay below an altitude, above an altitude? What's the deal?
Well, that's the other thing that struck me is that there's no such rules in Speed 2 Cruise Control.
Right, exactly.
It's just I'm in a
It makes it seem like there is, but there isn't.
yeah. No, there isn't at
Yeah.
all. It's just we're gonna collide with
With an oil tanker.
whatever happens, whatever you do.
Or land.
We're gonna
Yeah.
collide.
Right.
Yeah. How interesting. That's good. That's a good solution.
Not too bad.
I think that would be tolerated.
Yeah, right.
So I'm not happy about it, but okay. Don't resent it existing.
What was now you
Well,
your other non-pitch pitch?
my other my other non-pitch pitch. It is a pitch, but it occurred to me that a sequel to An American Werewolf in Paris would be better served as a song than a film.
Mm-hmm.
So I have the first two verses of An American Werewolf in New York.
Oh, mercy.
I don't drink coffee, I drink blood, my dear. Like my entrails on the side. You can hear my transformation when I talk. I'm an English werewolf in New York. See me hunting down Fifth Avenue. A walking canine with my hide. Find them everywhere I stalk. I'm an English werewolf in New York.
Holy fucking shit.
So there you go. Courtney Pine solo, unnecessary drum break. Final verse.
Delightful.
There you go. So I think that's where they went wrong.
Well,
They stayed in the same media.
I could use it in my pitch.
Oh, okay. So you pitch to your pitch is for American Werewolf in Paris / London.
Yes, but I would be calling mine A British Werewolf in Manhattan.
Oh, why specifically Manhattan?
I don't know.
Why did you go from city to borough?
I think honestly, because I kept saying A British Werewolf in New York, and I just didn't like the sound of it.
And you heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now that
that's what happened
now
to
that your
me.
song is involved, I think I might have to revert back to New York.
Yeah, you can have
Yeah.
it. You can license it from me.
So I wanted to do
I don't think Sting will have an issue with me
right.
stealing every other word of his song.
My idea was to do a lot of things we've talked about and actually involve the lineage of the first movie. So we have Nurse Alex Price. We have her child, a young girl. And so you get the gender swap. And
who's the father?
David.
Oh. Yeah, I guess that's possible.
They had sex.
They did.
So
pre or post werewolf?
Well,
How does that factor in?
He met her after already being bitten.
Oh, that's right. So is a bit of werewolf semen in there?
So I couldn't. So this is what I'm wrestling with.
I love how I go straight to the dirtiest aspect of the. Of your,
but it's important idea. Because, I'll ask your advice.
Oh yeah, people are going to be thinking the same
because
thing.
It's a question that you have to kind of answer, right? It's like literally, it's the first thing you thought of. So
that doesn't mean you have to think about it.
Well, my idea was
a deeply troubled human being.
She is visiting upstate New York because, and I can't remember, like, do they ever mention where David Kessler's from?
No.
So my idea was to have.
I think you're right. My guess is upstate New York. Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay. So I wanted her in upstate New York visiting his home. She's trying to find out about her father, more, visit the extended family, that kind of thing.
Right.
And I couldn't decide, is it, I was, American Werewolf in London is 81.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, if you make it 20 years,
right,
and you have a 20-year-old young woman, so is it the kind of thing of she reaches a certain age and then the werewolf thing kicks in, or is it she's in upstate New York and she gets bitten by a werewolf? It's one of those things.
Okay. Well, what did you decide?
I think I eventually decided for the attack because I needed to get her to New York.
Okay.
Like city proper. Mm-hmm. And so the idea was she's attacked, she goes to a small local hospital, she needs more help, so they evac her to New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And then what comes into play is, American Werewolf in London revisited in New York, and what we were talking about in the last episode about this reluctant, a reluctant werewolf. You can't help that it's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
But I also realized, 2001, now we're dealing with, is this post 9/11? Is this what's the deal?
In back in my mind, I was going, something about 2001 that alarms me, but I don't know what it is.
So
now I know.
Is it just too distasteful to set this in the backdrop of 9/11 having happened and the city's in chaos anyway?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, didn't we once comment on Final Destination 3 how it was like it sort of blamed 9/11, like
the roller coaster one?
There was a premonition of 9/11. I was like, oh, this is a bit too soon, a bit close to the mark. I wouldn't use this as a storyline quite yet. So I don't know, maybe the only way to, you'd have to test it.
Obviously, because we've got our time machine. So obviously, if I was making this movie in 2001, that's terrible. But if I'm making it now with the characters in 2001, it's still terrible. But and obviously, I did not get far enough. All of a sudden, I realized, well, it was 20 years, like literally an hour ago. I thought, well, if it's 20 years later, it's fucking 2001.
Right.
And I was trying to think of something you could say dramatically about that. So if you were juxtaposing, everyone at that time saying what we got to do is go get them, and then have that kind of be the idea of the wolf in the city of like everybody, they can't control this, so we're going to control that. We're going to try and find this wolf and take it out and do this. But meanwhile, also, people she's killed, you can do the Griffin Dunn.
Mhm.
You can, but I also thought, bring David Naughton back and have him ghost appearance visiting his daughter.
Ah. Yeah.
But of course, we would have to end with like another tragic ending.
But that's good.
But that's where I would want to take it.
I have a solution to your 9/11 problem.
Yes.
Don't edit around that. In relation to your pitch.
Yes.
It was an inside job. No. So you apocalypto it. So all of this happens and ends September 10th. And the film ends with you resolve it all just as the news reports are coming in.
Yeah. That's a good way to go.
And the reference, for those of you who've not seen Apocalypto, I mean, if you haven't, it's now ruined for you. But basically, the story just kind of ends, and then we see Columbus,
the ships,
the white colonizers about to just make everything that's going on
so much worse. Yeah, right.
And so I think I that's how I think you do it.
I think you're right. So there you have it, a British werewolf in New York.
So you would have to, you would have the tragedy of what happens in your movie kind of eclipsed by a greater tragedy.
Yes.
That makes people go, oh, whatever.
Right.
And also,
hey, that wolf turned into a dead girl. That's weird.
And also, it's a good day to bury bad news. So people wouldn't remember that this happened.
Yeah.
Because what happened on the same day? 9/11 can work to your advantage. Again, don't edit around that.
So there you have it. I went where I never thought I'd go, which is to fuck with an American Werewolf in London. Not caring at all about an American Werewolf in Paris.
No, that's it. That's interesting. So you could de facto decanonize.
Yeah.
You could throw in like a news report of, well, do you see what happened in Paris in '97?
Right. The news is just getting to New York.
Yeah.
Or maybe you cut back to mom. Because like the nurse Alex, what's her name? Alex Price. You cut back to her, and you see all her news clippings. She's finding werewolf news all over the world.
Yes, yes, yeah. Did you for us? You'd never seen American Werewolf in Paris before, right? Did you have a moment where you thought they were going to make Julie Delpy's mother Alex Price?
I didn't.
Okay.
I never saw that movie connecting that literally to the movie that preceded it.
I don't know if that had been better or worse.
Yeah.
No,
it would have been worse.
Both.
Yeah.
I think it would have been better, then worse, then better, then worse, then better, then
would have been
worse,
both.
Ultimately worse.
Both. Yeah.
Because we didn't really talk about this, but American Werewolf in Paris is not really a sequel.
No, yeah.
It's a sort of Etch-a-Sketch shake-up
right.
of the original movie.
There you go, kids. Start again.
Well, I'm glad that we've talked about every movie in the series, or we will have done. But when I do my pitch, because my pitch is for Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Wow.
So we will have talked about every movie in the series in one way or another.
I really.
We're gonna have pitches for all.
Yeah, I'm delighted by this. Because I didn't think you'd go Mortal Kombat.
Why didn't you think I'd go there?
I don't know. For some reason, I thought you were so enamored with Speed. I thought you'd try to find something ridiculous to do with Speed. You know, a real everything soup.
Yeah.
A Tom
Well,
Stewart
of the-
special.
But of the three, I think that needs my help least.
Right. Well put.
They know what they're doing. I mean, they don't, but absolutely don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But for people who don't know what they're doing,
They know
Came
what
off
they
pretty
know.
well.
Yeah, they're doing fine.
relatively well. Could be worse, as we've seen. So the name of my pitch is Mortal Kombat Rehabilitation.
All right.
Um,
Are you putting Jax's arms back on?
no.
Okay.
I should probably find out what the name of. Do you know offhand what the name of the lead character is? This is not a good start.
Are you talking about Liu Kang?
Liu Kang.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, Liu Kang.
You got Katana, Raiden, Sonya Blade.
No, I don't need any of
Okay.
those. Liu Kang.
Noted.
We pick up where we.
You don't want to
ended.
bring back Talisa Soto?
Yes, just listen.
All right.
Just listen. Well, we'll bring them back, but I don't need to know their names.
Ah,
So Liu Kang. I'm gonna say his name again since I've just learned it. Just so I remind myself. We're at the end of Mortal Kombat Annihilation. However that ends, I forget. But we're at the end of it, and suddenly, Shao Kahn returns from, let's say, a porthole.
of course.
Because you can do what you like with a porthole in this series. He appears out of a porthole, challenges Liu Kang to one more.
Are you bringing back Brian Thompson, or is there a third actor?
Yeah. Let's call it Brian Thompson. Well, you don't have to, right? We can.
You can.
No, it's going to be a different actor playing.
You can
him.
recast everyone.
I'll recast him as Michael Chiklis.
Nice. Yes.
So Michael Chiklis comes out of a porthole and challenges Liu Kang to one final Mortal Kombat. And I'm going by the video games here because he's the villain. He's the final boss in 2 and 3.
Mm.
So he challenges him to a fight to the death. And as with Mortal Kombat Annihilation, we see a nonsensical fight where nobody touches each other. But even Liu
Right.
Kang becomes aware that he's not actually physically fighting the person that he's in Mortal Kombat with. Yet, Liu Kang manages to deliver the final death blow, let's call it. Crossing my franchises here, but it's probably
So at the beginning of the movie, he death blows
he death
Khan,
blows. That's it.
Chiklis.
And then suddenly, you know, we get the video game over, winner. And Liu Kang looks around. His reality transforms. He's in a padded cell, punching into the air. It's just him. And it turns out he was a teenager who became addicted to Mortal Kombat. Once he'd completed the game, his mental health went into freefall.
Of course.
He learned martial arts so he could imagine himself fighting in the world of Mortal Kombat. And he ended up being institutionalized, where his imagination had completely taken over, and there've been 2 not good movies worth of his mental gymnastics, where he is in the world of Mortal Kombat, and now he's out. Okay, he's won the game in his mind. He's beaten the final boss. His mind can't create this fantasy any longer because he's won. and it's done. And so he has to go back to the real world. But his transition into the real world is, as you might imagine, difficult.
Mm-hmm.
He keeps, and the doctors who are in charge of him, and as you imagine, they'll all be characters/actors from Mortal Kombat. Will have their equivalent in the real world. So Talisa Soto is his doctor.
Okay.
His family. Jax is his best friend or whatever. Right.
His doctor.
And he just goes in, like, he goes into pure decline, like he's rather than, because he's been in this padded cell kind of at least fighting for real.
Mm-hmm.
But now he's just gone completely comatose, completely blank.
Oh, they probably shouldn't have let him out.
Well, they took him home. This happened after he left the institution, and he went into this fugue state basically. And the doctors don't know what to do with him. His family don't know what to do with him, and how to get him out of this. And they decided they've transitioned him from the fantasy world to the reality too quickly. So what they need to do is find some way to reenact Mortal Kombat in the real world that will allow him to indulge the fantasy and gradually wean himself off, so that he recognizes the difference between reality and the fantasy.
That's like weaning him off
So
of
everyone,
heroin.
so what are they going to do? They're going to bat boy him, right? They're going to bat boy him, and he is going to go around in the real world as Liu Kang in this elaborate immersive scenario with all his families and friends playing the roles of the characters in the game. And they're going to have to Truman Show their way through a game of Mortal Kombat to see if Liu Kang can be brought back from the brink of mental failure. And that is Mortal Kombat Rehabilitation.
That's amazing. I love it.
So there we go.
It sounds like such a, when you first hear that title, you think, well, that doesn't sound like the Mortal Kombat movie I want. Rehabilitation of what? But it all makes sense now.
Annihilation of what?
Right.
See what I'm working
You're not
with?
wrong.
I'm only as good as my ingredients.
I gotta make a delicious meal.
Yeah.
Out of Cheez-Its, peanut butter, castor oil, and fish.
I said that sound too bad.
Gotta get a crust for those Cheez-Its.
There you go.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right. Well, anything left?
No, so we've got pitches for each of the movies.
Yeah, we got minors and majors.
Minus them, yeah. We've got detailed thumbnail and everything in between.
Yeah, exactly right.
And we don't need to. Yeah, we can. We'll put that out to the vote.
And you.
I think the best of those is your speed pitch. I hate to say it.
Of course you would. That's a pitch I thought you would come up with, frankly. Maybe it's why I abandoned it in the first place.
But you also have the dream team of a British werewolf in New York that already has a theme song.
Right. I mean, you played right into that for me.
I know. It's amazing.
I can do nothing but love you for that.
All we have to do is get Sting on board.
Shouldn't be a problem.
And by on board, I mean not suing
Yes.
us. Doesn't have to be involved. He just has
He
to
just
not
never
mind.
has to hear it.
He just has to not mind not being involved. In a legal sense.
In a strictly legal capacity.
I, Sting, hereby allow my song.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. You get to vote.
You do.
What do you like? Or what do you want to see? You want to see a British werewolf in New York? Or do you want to see Mortal Kombat Rehabilitation?
Or Speed 3 Autopilot.
Yeah. Autopilot. So dumb. Now, what I need you to
Again.
do is hit this button like they're talking down to the ground.
Yeah.
Beep. All right, you're on autopilot. Just leave it like
Dumber
that.
than cruise control? I think not.
All right.
It's a better pun than cruise control.
We'd like to hear your pitches, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to have to send them in.
Yeah.
You can send them in via Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. By all means, send us an email to everythingsequel@gmail.com. What do you have for us in lieu of one of our sequels? You want to replace a Mortal Kombat or a Speed or some nationality somewhere? Some nationality werewolf somewhere? You're going to have to let us know. All right. We'll have a brand new series for you coming up next. I'm excited, Tom.
Oh, I can't tell
I know
how
you
excited
are.
I am.
You're
From-
going to go apeshit.
Yeah.
I feel like you've been waiting a long time for this.
Well, and also, I've been in the depths of hell with this series, so
It'll be a welcome reprieve.
yeah.
Even the worst of
absolutely.
them.
I feel like I got the pardon from the governor.
Right before they were
Just
going to
at the
throw
right
the
time.
switch.
Traffic's a bitch.
All right. Well, look forward to that, everyone. Until next time, Michael Shantz here of the How Dare You Awards for Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions. Say hello. Say goodbye, Tom.
Mortal Kombat!
You are just promoting your pitch right now. Don't think I don't know it.
Hey, it's public domain, apparently.
Of course. All right, take care, everyone. We'll be back soon with an all-new series.